So this is an article that comes from our Reddit subsection, and it was shared. Let me make sure I get this right. Ain Lem. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I know on Reddit people have kind of weird screen names sometimes. I just use my name. I just use Ron Placone. So anyway, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. Ain Lem, over on our Reddit shares this story. This was a pretty lame occurrence for the idea of the separation of church and state. And this is kind of more holy shit, I think we live in a Christian theocracy type moments. All right, so let's go to this. Blatzenberg ruling, a shameful legacy for the Supreme Court. This is from the Free Thought Today. So it should have been an easy call, this is according to the article, but the U.S. Supreme Court blew it. The government-owned, government-maintained 40-foot-tall Christian cross dominating the landscape in Bladensburg, Maryland, does not violate the First Amendment, 7 justices inexcusably decided on June 20th. One would expect to find a Christian cross, the big symbol of Christianity, on government property in a Christian theocracy, which is kind of what we have here in the United States, not in a country that was first among nations to separate religion from government. Yeah, in words we did that, but as the years went on, that sort of went away. The decision was fractured into 7 separate opinions. Okay, so Alito looks to history for guidance, trotting out typical religious right examples, such as legislative prayer, the day of Thanksgiving, George Washington declared, some religious language in the Northwest Ordinance. Okay. The passage of time gives rise to a strong presumption of constitutionality. Using a cross as a war memorial, here's what they say to justify this. Oh, wait, no, this is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So what Alito writes is that the passage of time gives rise to a strong presumptions of constitutionality. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in her dissent, because, of course, she wasn't for this, using the cross as a war memorial does not transform it into a secular symbol, as the Court of Appeals have uniformly recognized. Okay, so in short, and we're not going to go through all the court details here, but in short, the people who are for this, which are the right-wing judges on the Supreme Court, they're basically saying, oh, well, over the years, the cross has just become kind of a memorial symbol. It's just a memorial. It's a symbol. It's a symbol to those whose lives are lost. So, yeah, this is just a war memorial. That's it. Just happens to be a cross. Nothing to see there. This is fine. The dissent saying, no. Just because you're saying it's for a war memorial, that doesn't make it a secular symbol. The cross is a symbol of Christianity. This violates the separation of church and state. This should not be on government property. This should not be a government-funded thing. This giant, huge cross. By the way, just for the record, the historic Jesus, whether you believe in him or not, but the historic Jesus, based on the texts that are available, was against all of this stuff. He was against the big relics. He was against all the lavish spending on symbols. He was against all of that. All of it. If you actually believe in the historic Jesus and what Jesus said, that guy would walk into the Vatican, he would be appalled. He would be appalled. He would want to open it to the public to house the homeless immediately. That would be the first thing he'd do. He'd be like, open these gates, let the homeless in here. And by the way, if you've ever been to Rome, it is quite a sight to see because you see this huge, and I've been to the Vatican, you see this huge building, this amazing, elaborate building, and all these members of clergy dressed in these suits and in outfits that are worth, that probably cost my rent. And I live in the Los Angeles area. They probably dress in what my rent's worth. The Pope, I think every Pope outfit is worth millions, I'm pretty sure. And then you see homeless people all around the area. And again, if you believe in the historic Jesus, he was against all of this. All of it, full stop. I know people like to reinterpret stuff, tie it up, put a bow on it. He was against all of it. And yeah, this is what happens in a Christian theocracy. This is not a separation of church and state. They are using a Christian symbol, funding it with government money on government property, and they're imposing it on people. But that's the Supreme Court we got. That's the Supreme Court we got.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your